Emerson, thanks for taking the time. What a wild ride Escape the Field is. It gave me such Lost and Saw vibes, all kind of matched into one. What,
Nice.
what was the inspiration behind the film?
There's a number of films and that I've seen that I kind of drew from, I think, a bit, and just that have affected me early on. Alien was one that really got me. I just love the idea of these, you know, this small group of people trapped somewhere and they couldn't get away, and something was after them. So I was drawing from things like that, and clearly there with the puzzle, a lot of things have come in there in that aspect too, with references to things like Saw. And recently someone had mentioned that this feels like Lost at the beginning.
Yeah.
had told me that. I was like, wow, I never thought about that, but yeah, that's great. I'll take it, because there's a lot of Lost fans, so let's do that.
I was puzzling around thinking what it reminded me of, and Saw was the first thing that came to mind for some reason. But then when Lost hit me, I thought that's exactly what this feels like in a way.
Yeah. It was, it teases that a little bit. It never quite goes there like a Saw in that regards. With gore so much. It has that scary aspect of horror, but also, tends to be a little bit more complicated in a thriller aspect. And there's a lot of clues that are visual, and you'll catch a lot of clues through the dialogue as well. If you pay attention, you'll understand the ending.
Okay.
It'll tell you. These are ways I'll tell you one of the characters really is onto something.
Okay, very good. Might warrant a rewatch from me then.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Talk to me about the cast here. Such a great cast with Jordan Claire Robbins, Theo Rossi, Shane West. Talk about kind of bringing them together, and what was it like filming, such a wild movie with them?
Yeah, it was fun. The response to the script was really great. It was quick and immediate, so that was fantastic. I had worked with Theo previously, and I'd let him read it early on, an early draft, and he was like, "Yeah, we got to do this thing." So that was there, and then Shane and I were put in touch, and there was a real connection there, and we understood the story we were trying to tell and how we were trying to tell it. And Jordan would just, gosh, man, the response I knew immediately when I met with her. We met via Zoom initially. I knew immediately within moments that she was Sam, but without a doubt. So that fit really well. And Tahira, just amazing as well. I was really lucky to get everyone, Julian and Elena, and have everyone. It was just such an interesting thing to shoot during the pandemic. that aspect of it was pretty tough, but yeah, definitely blessed with the cast and everyone's excitement for the film.
Can you talk about filming during the pandemic a little bit? What kind of challenges were faced just in the production?
Yeah, it was interesting. We were, really close to going just before, and then the pandemic happened, and everything shifted, clearly. Luckily, we just found that window opened up, and we shot just outside Toronto. Everyone was able to get there, which was great. And there were some real positives to it for me as a filmmaker. My actors were trapped for 2 weeks of quarantine. So there was some rehearsal time that was nice to have. And it gave us all a chance to kind of bond and get to know one another a bit. So it was almost, like life imitating art in that aspect, watching them get to know one another and see, their personal characteristics that were brought to the film, as well as, spending time with each of the characters and, doing our rehearsals and then bringing that, to set. It was interesting, and a challenge. So luckily we didn't have any shutdowns. We made it right through, and, got out of there before everything in Toronto shut down, like a couple weeks later. So yeah, there were, physical challenges as far as, you didn't have the freedom to move. So it was either the hotel or there. our access to things were very limited. So, you know, we couldn't go to other locations. We couldn't do different things that you would typically do. So there were some restrictions, but it also was amazingly fun to just kind of be there and kind of with a small crew and just have the intimacy of making this film in the middle of a cornfield.
Sure.
I mean, that was very different, and I was blessed to be able to get to do that.
Were there, the majority of the film, is it practical, or was there any CGI that was kind of brought in to enhance any of the scenes?
Practical. I mean, we did some stuff to enhance the practical sets that were done, but yeah, he really fell in a pit, and you know, these different things or whatever it might be. Yeah, that was all just, let's do this, you know, and run around out in the corn. So yeah, the yanking and stuff was always a blast. Like, I really
I want to ask so many questions about the movie because there's just so it's a puzzle to me still, and I want to go back and watch again and pick up on these clues that you referenced. You
Sure.
know, I want to know more about the serum that was injected into Ryan, and
Oh, yeah,
why they ended up where they did, and things like that. But
yeah.
when you're planning something like this, a film that is a puzzle, what kind of work goes into that? What kind of preparation goes into actually making sure that all the pieces fit?
You know, you kind of have to. I map everything out, so I would just put everything out in front of me and understand what it was doing, and how it was working. I mean, if you really got into it and you start paying attention to what they're saying with the grids, and you know what those are, and you were to draw yourself a little map, you can figure out what's happening and why they're doing what they're doing, or whoever created this has it done that way. So gosh, it's tough to not give it away. But,
I know, and please don't, because I want people to experience this.
If you do that and kind of figure it out, I would say that would be a start. And it all might be subterfuge. Maybe.
So I want you to know that I'm going to be playing this movie again as soon as this interview's over.
I'll give you, but the biggest hint I can give you is just pay attention to the ending.
Okay.
Like, really pay attention to the end of what's going on.
Gotcha.
Because therein lies the rub. And there's one particular scene in the film where there's a conversation that happens that's pretty on the nose.
Okay.
Yeah. You'll find it. It's there.
I'm definitely going looking for it.
Maybe some marking and writing that kind of help you as well. and the items, pay attention to that.
It definitely feels like part of a larger story, or something more at play that can be explored even more beyond this one initial film. Is that something that you're interested in, or is there more to sort of the world, so to speak, of Escape the Field that you would want to explore?
Yeah, there definitely is. There's a place for it to go, and it's a small part of a much bigger story. So, but I think that's the easiest way to put it. So yeah, I'm definitely there's I would love to go spend some time in this space, for sure.
Are there any favorite scenes that stick out for you?
Yeah, definitely. Some of my, I love the stuff when they first meet. Like, that's the big one. The big stuff for me is like when they first kind of figured out that dynamic that happens, you know, and it's very true when you can put that into real life. And I had drawn from that when kind of putting this together, you know, when Sam wakes up and Tyler comes in, there's distrust immediately. You know, she's even got a gun pointed at him. What is this? No. And then they decide, okay, she decides, I'm going to go with this guy. But as soon as they meet more people, it's like they're bonded.
Yeah. Even
though she distrusted him, she's like next to him, and he's next to her, and they're almost a team when they meet this other small group of people. If those same group dynamics continue throughout, which that's interesting to me because you see it even if, you know, you go to a party and you meet no one, the first person you meet, you'll inevitably start chatting with, and then you're just kind of can end up engaged with that person throughout and meet other people that way. Or you see it in like in reality shows like Survivor. I remember watching some episodes of Survivor. No one knows each other, but then those initial bonds that are made can typically last throughout the whole ordeal.
Absolutely.
So I kind of tried to pay attention to that, and you see it, you know, whether it be Ryan, you know, protecting Denise and Ethan a little bit more than say he would Sam, and definitely not Cameron. So
he's not a fan.
So that was the big stuff that I drew from.
There definitely was an authenticity to their initial meeting that I really liked, and especially in the writing. The one line that sticks out right away is when she's pointing the gun, he says, you know, if I put you here, would I give you a gun? I'm like, well, yeah, okay, good point.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah. I can see it. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you ultimately hope? I mean, in writing this film and putting this film together, what do you hope audiences take away from it or experience with it?
Well, you know, first and foremost, I hope it's entertaining. It's something that people enjoy. I mean, and when you really strip everything away, it's entertainment. It's about having fun and kind of getting to experience and do something that you might not get to do in your everyday life. So I think the big takeaway for me is I hope people enjoy the film. They enjoy the ride, and the intrigue and the twists and turns that hopefully, you know, are there for them and you know, want to know more about this character.
You've got me hooked there. I definitely want to know more. But in terms of you and what's coming up next, are you sticking with the horror thriller genre, or, you know, are you hoping to dabble into other genres? And what's on the docket? What's next for you?
So I'm heading into prep on my next film. I can't really talk too much about that just yet, but I'm super excited to make this film. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's this next one's in a thriller genre, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Beyond that, I know time will tell. I have a couple things that I've written that you know I'll want to get out there and work on, and a few of them definitely are in this vein for sure.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, Emerson, this was a great first feature. It's so much fun. And like I said, I'm definitely going back to watch it again to catch some of these clues and clear up any questions that I have at the end, even though I don't think I'll get all the answers. But thanks for taking the time today. I hope everyone enjoys this when it comes out on May 6th, and that you enjoy the ride and the critical response.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Cheers.